yourself and then talk. Yeah, it is exactly 11 o'clock. So with the permission of everybody, I think let's get started. It is exactly 11. So welcome everybody to today's session 12 of the Bhagavad Gita online Parayan as well as Satsang, which we've been holding for the past 2 years. And this is the third year we are having it online. And we've been getting very good support from a lot of people. And it's being also live streamed into YouTube as well as Facebook, the Facebook page of Gita Jayanti as well as YouTube page of Gita Jayanti. YouTube channel. And today we have as our guest of honor Sri Ranveer Kumar Singh Ji, who is basically the president of Siddhapid Lakshmi Narayan Temple of Singapore. And we are very glad to have you, sir, with us. And we will call you once the initial invocations are over, so that you can give your invocation address. And today, the summary Parayan lecture, the summary lecture for today will be done by Anand Ji. Anand Ji is one of our internal members itself, who is a very well learned person from in the Bhagavad Gita. So he'll be sharing his ideas on the chapters which are chanted today, basically chapter 11 and chapter 12. So without much ado, let's get started with the chanting. And the initial chanting of the invocatory verses will be done by Sunilji. Over to Sunilji.
Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidyushavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shasivarnam Chadurbhujam Vasannavadanam Dhyaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varate Karupini Vidyarambham Karishya Bhavatu me.
Sunilji, I think there is some interruption. Where is the sound coming from? Okay, Sunilji, continue. Please continue. Sorry.
Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Karupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhirabhavatu me sada. Sarvamangalamangale Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Tempake Gauri Narayani Namostute Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.
Parayan, thank you, Sunilji, for the invocatory verses. So now we move over to the next segment, so which is basically the welcome address by the guest of honor for today, Sri Ranveer Kumar Singh Ji, who is a president of Lakshmi Narayan Temple of Singapore, and he's a very, very well-known supporter of all the cultural as well as spiritual as well as religious activities of Singapore, and we are extremely happy and pleased to have our respected guest for today, Sri Ranveer Ji, and over to you, sir, for your words of advice as well as address for today.
Thank you very much, Sri Krishna Kumar Ji. Hari Om, Namaskar, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to session 12 of Bhagavad Gita, Parayan and Satsang 2022. The Siddhpit Sri Lakshmi Narayan Temple is very honored to join several other Hindu organizations together with the Hindu Endowment Board in supporting this event, the chanting of the slokas of the Gita over 18 sessions. The Bhagavad Gita, as you all know, is one of the most sacred scriptures in Sanatana Dharma. It is referred to by countless number of people on a daily basis in their quest for the truth, in navigating challenges posed on a daily basis, and generally in guiding them through their journey in their off life. The usefulness of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita has been so profound that it has transcended the people professing Sanatana Dharma to people professing other faiths too. That expansion of the effect is testimony of the integral part of the teachings of the Gita, which is played in our daily lives. This series of events has been designed such that even beginners can learn how to chant the slokas. This should encourage as many people as possible to learn about the slokas in their purest form. I would therefore urge you to continue attending the online classes and explore and understand the teachings of the Gita. I would also urge you to encourage your family and friends to attend the classes. I'm sure you all will find fulfillment in attending the classes. Thank you very much and enjoy the program for the day.
Thank you so much, Ranveer Ji, for your nice words. Yes, we do have, we are finding very good support for this event, and a lot of people actually do participate. And it's also since it's being streamed into YouTube as well as Facebook, a lot of people actually watch it online on these platforms too. So anyway, thank you once again. And now we get back to our the rest of the procedures, and the chanters are, really very, very outstanding chanters. And every session we also have a summary of the summary talk where the meaning of that particular verses which are chanted on that session will be explained by somebody who's really very, very well learned in that in Bhagavad Gita. And we also have a mini quiz session where actually we talk about that particular few questions are asked on those on the verses that are chanted, so that people really have to go into the text to figure out how to answer the questions. So basically an online session, an online quiz again, where people are are sort of suggested to go into the text. So these are all various ways in which we are trying to propagate the chanting as well as the meaning and the understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, thank you so much, and let's get started with the rest of the verses. And now we start with the first, the part is the Gita Dhyanam, the invocatory verses of the Bhagavad Gita, and this will be chanted chanted by Padmini Ji.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pradibodhita Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayini Ambatvam Anusandadhami भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Hari Om. Thank you so much for that beautiful chanting of the invocatory verses, Gita Dhyanam by Padmini Ji. And now we move over to the actual chanting of the verses which are allocated for today. And today's verses are actually chapter 11, verse 31 to 55 until the end of the chapter, and then chapter 12, the Bhakti Yoga chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, of the full chapter 1 to 20. And please note that in the following slides, the Gita Parayan segment, the slides give the simple meaning of the verses taken from the different great commentators, sometimes with explanatory notes. And the commentator reference is also given in the brackets. The names of these commentators are actually at the end of the session. Before the Mahatmya segment, we will talk about who are the actual commentators, whose text we have taken as the meaning of the verses which are given in these slides. So the importance is given to not only just chanting, also to understanding the basic meaning and also to go deeper into the text. So the whole effort here is to learn the Bhagavad Gita in full. And request everybody, now we are going to start the Parayan. Request everybody to go a bit fast because today we have a large number of verses, so that we would like to finish by around 12 o'clock or 12:05 or so. So requesting everybody to go a bit fast because first, initial few verses are actually the long verses, the Trishtub meter verses. So they will require more time. So over to Surenji and Padmini-ji, please.
आख्याहि मे को भवानुग्ररूपः
आख्याहि मे को भवानुग्ररूपः
नमोऽस्तु ते देववर प्रसीद
नमोऽस्तु ते देववर प्रसीद
विज्ञातुमिच्छामि भवन्तमाद्यम्
विज्ञातुमिच्छामि भवन्तमाद्यम्
न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तिम्
न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तिम्
आख्याहि मे को भवानुग्ररूपः नमोऽस्तु ते देववर प्रसीद विज्ञातुमिच्छामि भवन्तमाद्यं न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तिम्
आख्याहि मे को भवानुग्ररूपः नमोऽस्तु ते देववर प्रसीद विज्ञातुमिच्छामि भवन्तमाद्यं न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तिम्
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
कालोऽस्मि लोकक्षयकृत् प्रवृद्धः
कालोऽस्मि लोकक्षयकृत् प्रवृद्धः
लोकान् समाहर्तुमिव इह प्रवृत्तः
लोकान् समाहर्तुमिह प्रवृत्तः
ऋतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे
ऋतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे
एव स्थिताः प्रत्यकिनेषु योधाः
एव स्थिताः प्रत्यनीकेषु योधाः
कालोऽस्मि लोकक्षयकृत् प्रवृद्धः लोकान् समाहर्तुमिह प्रवृत्तः ऋतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे एव स्थिताः प्रत्यनीकेषु योधाः
श्रीभगवानुवाच कालोऽस्मि लोकक्षयकृत् प्रवृद्धः लोकान् समाहर्तुमिह प्रवृत्तः ऋतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे एव स्थिताः प्रत्यनीकेषु योधाः
तस्मात् त्वमुत्तिष्ठ यशो लभस्व
तस्मात्तुमुत्तिष्ठ यशो लभस्व
जित्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम्
जित्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम्
मयैवेते निहिताः पूर्वमेव
मयैवैते निहताः पूर्वमेव
निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन्
निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन्
तस्मात् त्वमुत्तिष्ठ यशो लभस्व जित्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम् मयैवेते निहताः पूर्वमेव निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन्
तस्मात् त्वमुत्तिष्ठ यशो लभस्व जित्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम् मयैवैते निहताः पूर्वमेव निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन्
द्रोणं च भीष्मं च जयद्रथं च
द्रोणं च भीष्मं च जयद्रथं च
कर्णं तथान्यानपि योधवीरान्
कर्णं तथान्यानपि योधवीरान्
मया हतास्त्वं जहिमा व्यधिष्ठाः
मया हतांस्त्वं जहिमा व्यधिष्ठाः
युद्धस्व जेतासि रणे सपत्नान्
युध्यस्व जेतासि रणे सपत्नान्
द्रोणं च भीष्मं च जयद्रथं च कर्णं तथान्यान् अपि योधवीरान् मया हतास्त्वं जहिमा व्यधिष्ठाः युद्धस्व जेतासि रणे सपत्नान्
द्रोणं च भीष्मं च जयद्रथं च कर्णं तथान्यानपि योधवीरान् मया हतांस्त्वं जहिमा व्यधिष्ठाः युध्यस्व जेतासि रणे सपत्नान्
संजय उवाच
संजय उवाच
एतत् श्रुत्वा वचनं केशवस्य
एतच्छ्रुत्वा वचनं केशवस्य
कृताञ्जलिर्वेपमानः किरीटी
कृताञ्जलिर्वेपमानः किरीटी
नमस्कृत्वा भूय एवाह कृष्णम्
नमस्कृत्वा भूय एवाह कृष्णम्
सगद्गदं भीतः प्रणम्य
सगद्गदं भीतः प्रणम्य
सञ्जय उवाच एतत् श्रुत्वा वचनं केशवस्य कृताञ्जलिर्वेपमानः किरीटी नमस्कृत्वा भूय एवाह कृष्णं सगद्गदं भीतः प्रणम्य
सञ्जय उवाच एतत् श्रुत्वा वचनं केशवस्य कृताञ्जलिर्वेपमानः किरीटी नमस्कृत्वा भूय एवाह कृष्णं सगद्गदं भीतः प्रणम्य अर्जुन उवाच
अर्जुन उवाच
स्थाने हृषीकेश तव प्रकीर्त्या
स्थाने हृषीकेश तव प्रकीर्त्या
जगत्प्रहृष्यत्यनुरज्यते च
जगत्प्रहृष्यत्यनुरज्यते च
रक्षांसि भीतानि दिशो द्रवन्ति
रक्षांसि भीतानि दिशो द्रवन्ति
सर्वे नमस्यन्ति च सिद्धसङ्घाः
सर्वे नमस्यन्ति च सिद्धसङ्घाः
अर्जुन उवाच स्थाने हृषीकेश तव प्रकीर्त्या जगत्प्रहृष्यत्यनुरज्यते च रक्षांसि भीतानि दिशो द्रवन्ति सर्वे नमस्यन्ति च सिद्धसङ्घाः
अर्जुन उवाच स्थाने हृषीकेश तव प्रकीर्त्या जगत्प्रहृष्यत्यनुरज्यते च रक्षांसि भीतानि दिशो द्रवन्ति सर्वे नमस्यन्ति च सिद्धसङ्घाः
कस्माच्च तेन न मेरन्महात्मन्
कस्माच्च तेन न मेरन्महात्मन्
गरीयसे ब्रह्मणोऽप्यादिकर्त्रे
गरीयसे ब्रह्मणोऽप्यादिकर्ते
अनन्तदेवेश जगन्निवास
अनन्तदेवेश जगन्निवास
त्वमक्षरं सदसत्तत्परं यत्
त्वमक्षरं सदसत्तत्परं यत्
कस्माच्च तेन न मेरन्महात्मन् गरीयसे ब्रह्मणोऽप्यादिकर्त्रे अनन्तदेवेश जगन्निवास त्वमक्षरं सदसत्तत्परं यत्
कस्माच्च तेन न मेरन्महात्मन् गरीयसे ब्रह्मणोऽप्यादिकर्त्रे अनन्तदेवेश जगन्निवास त्वमक्षरं सदसत्तत्परं यत्
त्वमादिदेवः पुरुषः पुराणः
त्वमादिदेवः पुरुषः पुराणः
त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम्
त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परन्निधानम्
वेत्तासि वेद्यं च परं च धाम
वेत्तासि वेद्यं च परं च धाम
त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप
त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप
त्वमादिदेवः पुरुषः पुराणः त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् वेत्तासि वेद्यं च परं च धाम त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप
त्वमादिदेवेशः पुरुषः पुराणः त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परन्निधानम् वेत्तासि वेद्यं च परं च धाम त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप
वायुर्यमोऽग्निर्वरुणः शशाङ्कः
वायुर्यमोऽग्निर्वरुणः शशाङ्कः
प्रजापतिस्त्वं प्रपितामहश्च
प्रजापतिस्त्वं प्रपितामहश्च
नमो नमस्तेऽस्तु सहस्रकृत्वः
नमो नमस्तेस्तु सहस्रकृत्वः
पुनश्च भूयोऽपि नमो नमस्ते
पुनश्च भूयोऽपि नमो नमस्ते
वायुर्यमोऽग्निर्वरुणः शशाङ्कः प्रजापतिस्त्वं प्रपितामहश्च नमो नमस्तेस्तु सहस्रकृत्वः पुनश्च भूयोऽपि नमो नमस्ते
वायुर्यमोऽग्निर्वरुणः शशाङ्कः प्रजापतिस्त्वं प्रपितामहश्च नमो नमस्तेस्तु सहस्रकृत्वः पुनश्च भूयोऽपि नमो नमस्ते
नमः पुरस्तादथ पृष्ठतस्ते
नमः पुरस्तादथ पृष्ठतस्ते
नमोऽस्तु ते सर्वत एव सर्व
नमोऽस्तु ते सर्वत एव सर्व
अनन्तवीर्यामितविक्रमस्त्वम्
अनन्तवीर्यामितविक्रमस्त्वम्
सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततोऽसि सर्वः
सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततोऽसि सर्वः
नमः पुरस्तादथ पृष्ठतस्ते नमोऽस्तु ते सर्वत एव सर्व अनन्तवीर्यामितविक्रमस्त्वं सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततोऽसि सर्वः
नमः पुरस्तादथ पृष्ठतस्ते नमोऽस्तु ते सर्वत एव सर्व अनन्तवीर्यामितविक्रमस्त्वं सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततोऽसि सर्वः सखेति मत्वा प्रसभय्यदुक्तम्
सखेति मत्वा प्रसभं यदुक्तम्
हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति
हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति
अजानता महिमानन्तवेदम्
अजानता महिमानं तवेदम्
मया प्रमादात् प्रणयेन वापि
मया प्रमादात् प्रणयेन वापि
सखेति मत्वा प्रसभय्यदुक्तम् हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति अजानता महिमानन्तवेदम् मया प्रमादात् प्रणयेन वापि
सखेति मत्वा प्रसभं यदुक्तम् हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति अजानता महिमानं तवेदम् मया प्रमादात् प्रणयेन वापि
यच्चावहासार्थमसत्कृतोऽसि
यच्चावहासार्थमसत्कृतोऽसि
विहारशय्यासनभोजनेषु
विहारशय्यासनभोजनेषु
एकोऽथवाप्यच्युत तत्समक्षम्
एकोऽथवाप्यच्युत तत्समक्षम्
तत्क्षामये त्वामहमप्रमेयम्
तत्क्षामये त्वामहमप्रमेयम्
यच्चावहासार्थमसत्कृतोऽसि विहारशय्यासनभोजनेषु एकोऽथवाप्यच्युत तत्समक्षम् तत्क्षामये त्वामहमप्रमेयम्
यच्चावहासार्थमसत्कृतोऽसि विहारशय्यासनभोजनेषु एकोऽथवाप्यच्युत तत्समक्षम् तत्क्षामये त्वामहमप्रमेयम्
पितासि लोकस्य चराचरस्य
पितासि लोकस्य चराचरस्य
त्वमस्य पूज्यश्च गुरुर्गरीयान्
त्वमस्य पूज्यश्च गुरुर्गरीयान्
न त्वत्समोऽस्त्यभ्यतिकः कुतोऽन्यः
न त्वत्समोऽस्त्यभ्यतिकः कुतोऽन्यः
लोकत्रयेऽप्यप्रतिमप्रभाव
लोकत्रयेऽप्यप्रतिमप्रभाव
पितासि लोकस्य चराचरस्य
पिता
त्वमस्य पूज्यश्च गुरुर्गरीयान् न त्वत्समोऽस्त्यभ्यतिकः कुतोऽन्यः लोकत्रयेऽप्यप्रतिमप्रभाव
पितासि लोकस्य चराचरस्य त्वमस्य पूज्यश्च गुरुर्गरीयान् न त्वत्समोऽस्त्यभ्यधिकः कुतोऽन्यः लोकत्रयेऽप्यप्रतिमप्रभाव
तस्मात् प्रणम्य प्रणिधाय कायम्
तस्मात् प्रणम्य प्रणिधाय कायम्
प्रसादये त्वामहमीश मीड्यम्
प्रसादये त्वामहमीश मीढ्यम्
पितेव पुत्रस्य सखेव सख्युः
पितेव पुत्रस्य सखेव सख्युः
प्रियः प्रियायार्हसि देव सोढुम्
प्रियः प्रियायार्हसि देव सोढुम्
तस्मात् प्रणम्य प्रणिधाय कायम् प्रसादये त्वामहमीश मीड्यम् पितेव पुत्रस्य सखेव सख्युः प्रियः प्रियायार्हसि देव सोढुम्
तस्मात् प्रणम्य प्रणिधाय कायम् प्रसादये त्वामहमीश मीड्यम् पितेव पुत्रस्य सखेव सख्युः प्रियः प्रियायार्हसि देव सोढुम्
अदृष्ट्वा पूर्वं हृषितोऽस्मि दृष्ट्वा
अदृष्टपूर्वं हृषितोऽस्मि दृष्ट्वा
भयेन च प्रव्यथितं मनो मे
भयेन च प्रव्यथितं मनो मे
तदेव मे दर्शय देवरूपम्
तदेव मे दर्शय देवरूपम्
प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास
प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास
अदृष्टपूर्वं हृषितोऽस्मि दृष्ट्वा भयेन च प्रव्यथितं मनो मे तदेव मे दर्शय देवरूपम् प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास
अदृष्टपूर्वं हृषितोऽस्मि दृष्ट्वा भयेन च प्रव्यथितं मनो मे तदेव मे दर्शय देवरूपम् प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास किरीटिनं गदिनं चक्रहस्तम्
किरीटिनं गदिनं चक्रहस्तम्
इच्छामि त्वां द्रष्टुमहं तथैव
इच्छामि त्वां द्रष्टुमहं तथैव
तेनैव रूपेण चतुर्भुजेन
तेनैव रूपेण चतुर्भुजेन
सहस्रबाहो भव विश्वमूर्ते
सहस्रबाहो भव विश्वमूर्ते
किरीटिनं गदिनं चक्रहस्तम् इच्छामि त्वां द्रष्टुमहं तथैव तेनैव रूपेण चतुर्भुजेन सहस्रबाहो भव विश्वमूर्ते
किरीटिनं गदिनं चक्रहस्तम् इच्छामि त्वां द्रष्टुमहं तथैव तेनैव रूपेण चतुर्भुजेन सहस्रबाहो भव विश्वमूर्ते
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
मया प्रसन्नेन तवार्जुनेदम्
मया प्रसन्नेन तवार्जुनेदम्
रूपं परं दर्शितमात्मयोगात्
रूपं परं दर्शितमात्मयोगात्
तेजोमयं विश्वमनन्तमाद्यम्
तेजोमयं विश्वमनन्तमाद्यम्
यन्मे त्वदन्येन न द्रष्टपूर्वम्
यन्मे त्वदन्येन न दृष्टपूर्वम्
श्रीभगवानुवाच मया प्रसन्नेन तवार्जुनेदम् रूपं परं दर्शितमात्मयोगात् तेजोमयं विश्वमनन्तमाद्यं यन्मे त्वदन्येन न द्रष्टपूर्वम्
श्रीभगवानुवाच मया प्रसन्नेन तवार्जुनेदं रूपं परं दर्शितमात्मयोगात् तेजोमयं विश्वमनन्तमाद्यं यन्मे त्वदन्येन न दृष्टपूर्वम्
न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनैर्न दानैः
न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनैर्न दानैः
न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुग्रैः
न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुग्रैः
एवं रूपः शक्य अहं नृलोके
एवं रूपः शक्य अहं नृलोके
द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर
द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर
न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनैर्न दानैः न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुग्रैः एवं रूपः शक्य अहं नृलोके द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर
न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनैर्न दानैः न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुग्रैः एवं रूपः शक्य अहं नृलोके द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर
मा ते व्यथा मा च विमूढभावः
मा ते व्यथा मा च विमूढभावः
दृष्ट्वा रूपं घोरमीदृङ्ममेदम्
दृष्ट्वा रूपं घोरमिदृङ्ममेदम्
व्यपेतभिः प्रीतमानः पुनस्त्वम्
व्यपेतभिः प्रीतमानाः पुनस्त्वम्
तदेव मे रूपमिदं प्रपश्य
तदेव मे रूपमिदं प्रपश्य
मा ते व्यथा मा च विमूढभावः दृष्ट्वा रूपं घोरमीदृङ्ममेदम् व्यपेतभिः प्रीतमनाः पुनस्त्वम् तदेव मे रूपमिदं प्रपश्य
मा ते व्यथा मा च विमूढभावः दृष्ट्वा रूपं घोरमिदृङ्ममेदम् व्यपेतभिः प्रीतमनाः पुनस्त्वं तदेव मे रूपमिदं प्रपश्य
सञ्जय उवाच
सञ्जय उवाच
इत्यर्जुनं वासुदेवस्तथोक्त्वा
इत्यर्जुनौ वासुदेवस्तथोक्त्वा
स्वकं रूपं दर्शयामास भूयः
स्वकं रूपं दर्शयामास भूयः
आश्वासयामास च भीतमेनं
आश्वासयामास च भीतमेनं
भूत्वा पुनः सौम्य वपुर्महात्मा
भूत्वा पुनः सौम्य वपुर्महात्मा
सञ्जय उवाच इत्यर्जुनं वासुदेवस्तथोक्त्वा स्वकं रूपं दर्शयामास भूयः आश्वासयामास च भीतमेनं भूत्वा पुनः सौम्य वपुर्महात्मा
सञ्जय उवाच इत्यर्जुनं वासुदेवस्तथोक्त्वा स्वकं रूपं दर्शयामास भूयः आश्वासयामास च भीतमेनं भूत्वा पुनः सौम्य वपुर्महात्मा अर्जुन उवाच
अर्जुन उवाच
दृष्ट्वेदं मानुषं रूपम्
दृष्ट्वेदं मानुषं रूपं
तव सौम्यं जनार्दन
तव सौम्यं जनार्दन
इदानीमस्मि संवृत्तः
इदानीमस्मि संवृत्तः
सचेताः प्रकृतिं गतः
सचेताः प्रकृतिं गतः
अर्जुन उवाच दृष्ट्वेदं मानुषं रूपं तव सौम्यं जनार्दन इदानीमस्मि संवृत्तः सचेताः प्रकृतिं गतः
अर्जुन उवाच दृष्ट्वेदं मानुषं रूपं तव सौम्यं जनार्दन इदानीमस्मि संवृत्तः सचेताः प्रकृतिं गतः
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
सुदुर्दर्शमिदं रूपम्
सुदुर्दर्शमिदं रूपं
दृष्टवानसि यन्मम
दृष्टवानसि यन्मम
देवा अप्यस्य रूपस्य
देवा अप्यस्य रूपस्य
नित्यं दर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः
नित्यं दर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः
श्रीभगवानुवाच सुदुर्दर्शमिदं रूपं दृष्टवानसि यन्मम देवा अप्यस्य रूपस्य नित्यं दर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः
श्रीभगवानुवाच सुदुर्दर्शमिदं रूपं दृष्टवानसि यन्मम देवा अप्यस्य रूपस्य नित्यं दर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः
नाहं वेदैर्न तपसा
नाहं वेदैर्न तपसा
न दानेन न चेज्यया
न दानेन न चेज्यया
शक्य एवं विधो द्रष्टुम्
शक्य एवं विधो द्रष्टुम्
दृष्टवानसि मां यथा
दृष्टवानसि मां यथा
नाहं वेदैर्न तपसा न दानेन न चेज्यया शक्य एवं विधो द्रष्टुम् दृष्टवानसि मां यथा
नाहं वेदैर्न तपसा न दानेन न चेज्यया शक्य एवं विधो द्रष्टुम् दृष्टवानसि मां यथा
भक्त्या त्वनन्यया शक्यः
भक्त्या त्वनन्यया शक्यः
अहमेवं विधोऽर्जुन
अहमेवं विधोऽर्जुन
ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन
ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन
प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप
प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप
भक्त्या त्वनन्यया शक्यः अहमेवं विधोऽर्जुन ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप
भक्त्या त्वनन्यया शक्यः अहमेवं विधोऽर्जुन ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप
मत्कर्म कृन्मत्परमः
मत्कर्म कृन्मत्परमः
मद्भक्तः सङ्गवर्जितः
मद्भक्तः सङ्गवर्जितः
निर्वैरः सर्वभूतेषु
निर्वैरः सर्वभूतेषु
यः स मामेति पाण्डव
यः स मामेति पाण्डव
मत्कर्म कृन्मत्परमः मद्भक्तः सङ्गवर्जितः निर्वैरः सर्वभूतेषु यः स मामेति पाण्डव
मत्कर्म कृन्मत्परमः मद्भक्तः सङ्गवर्जितः निर्वैरः सर्वभूतेषु यः स मामेति पाण्डव
ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे विश्वरूपदर्शनयोगो नामैकादशोऽध्यायः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णौ वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। अथ द्वादशोऽध्यायः भक्तियोगः। अर्जुन उवाच
अर्जुन उवाच
एवं सततयुक्ता ये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते
भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते
ये चाप्यक्षरमव्यक्तम् तेषां के योगवित्तमाः।
तेषां के योगवित्तमाः।
अर्जुन उवाच एवं सततयुक्ता ये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरमव्यक्तम् तेषां के योगवित्तमाः।
अर्जुन उवाच एवं सततयुक्ता ये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरमव्यक्तम् तेषां के योगवित्तमाः। श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
मय्यावेश्य मनो ये माम्
मय्यावेश्य मनो ये माम्
नित्ययुक्ता उपासते
नित्ययुक्ता उपासते
श्रद्धया परयोपेताः
श्रद्धया परयोपेताः
ते मे युक्ततमा मताः।
ते मे युक्ततमा मताः।
श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यावेश्य मनो ये माम् नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेताः ते मे युक्ततमा मताः।
श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यावेश्य मनो ये माम् नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेताः ते मे युक्ततमा मताः।
ये त्वक्षरमनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते
अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते
सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थमचलं ध्रुवम्। ये त्वक्षरमनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थमचलं ध्रुवम्।
ये त्वक्षरमनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थमचलं ध्रुवम्। संनियम्येन्द्रियग्रामम्
सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः। संनियम्येन्द्रियग्रामम् सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः।
संनियम्येन्द्रियग्रामम् सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः
क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम्
क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम्
अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम्
अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम्
अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम्
अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम्
देहवद्भिरवाप्यते
देहवद्भिरवाप्यते
क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते
क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते
ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि
ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि
मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः
मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः
अनन्येनैव योगेन
अनन्येनैव योगेन
मां ध्यायन्त उपासते
मां ध्यायन्त उपासते
ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते
ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते
तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता
तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता
मृत्युसंसारसागरात्
मृत्युसंसारसागरात्
भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ
भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ
मय्यावेशितचेतसाम्
मय्यावेशितचेतसाम्
तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम्
तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम् मय्येव मन आधत्स्व
मय्येव मन आधत्स्व
मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय
मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय
निवसिष्यसि मय्येव
निवसिष्यसि मय्येव
अत ऊर्ध्वन्न संशयः
अत ऊर्ध्वन्न संशयः
मय्येव मन आधत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अत ऊर्ध्वन्न संशयः
मय्येव मन आधत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अत ऊर्ध्वन्न संशयः
अथ चित्तं
समाधातुम्
न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम्
न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम्
अभ्यासयोगेन ततः मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततः मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय
अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततः मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय
अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि
अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि
मत्कर्म परमो भव
मत्कर्म परमो भव
मदर्थमपि कर्माणि
मदर्थमपि कर्माणि
कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि
कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि
अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि
अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि
अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि
अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि
कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः
कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागम्
ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्
ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्
अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्
अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागम् ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात्
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात्
ज्ञानाध्यानौ विशिष्यते
ज्ञानाध्यानौ विशिष्यते
ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः
ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः
त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्
त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानौ विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानौ विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्
अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां
अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां
मैत्रः करुण एव च
मैत्रः करुण एव च
निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः
निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः
समदुःखः सुखः क्षमी
समदुःखः सुखः क्षमी
अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखः सुखः क्षमी
अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखः सुखः क्षमी सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी
सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी
यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः
यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः
मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः
मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः
यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः
यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः
सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः
सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः
यस्मान्नो द्विजते लोकः
यस्मान्नो द्विजते लोकः
लोकान्नो द्विजते च यः
लोकान्नो द्विजते च यः
हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैः
हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैः
मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः
मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः
यस्मान्नो द्विजते लोकः लोकान्नो द्विजते च यः हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैः मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः
यस्मान्नो द्विजते लोकः लोकान्नो द्विजते च यः हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैः मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः
अनपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्षः
नपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्षः
उदासीनो गतव्यथः
आसीनो गतव्यथः
सर्वारम्भ परित्यागी
सर्वारम्भ परित्यागी
यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः
यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः
अनपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्षः उदासीनो गतव्यथः सर्वारम्भ परित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः
अपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्षः उदासीनो गतव्यथः सर्वारम्भ परित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः
यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि
यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि
न शोचति न काङ्क्षति
न शोचति न काङ्क्षति
शुभाशुभ परित्यागी
शुभाशुभ परित्यागी
भक्तिमान् यः स मे प्रियः
भक्तिमान् यः स मे प्रियः
यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न काङ्क्षति शुभाशुभ परित्यागी भक्तिमान् यः स मे प्रियः
यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न काङ्क्षति शुभाशुभ परित्यागी भक्तिमान् यः स मे प्रियः
समः शत्रौ च मित्रे च
समः शत्रौ च मित्रे च
तथा मानापमानयोः
तथा मानापमानयोः
शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु
शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु
समः संग विवर्जितः
समः संगविवर्जितः
समः शत्रौ च मित्रे च तथा मानापमानयोः शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु समः संग विवर्जितः
मशत्रौ च मित्रे च तथा मानापमानयोः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु समः सङ्गविवर्जितः
तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी
तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी
सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित्
सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित्
अनिकेतस्थिरमतिः
अनिकेतः स्थिरमतिः
भक्तिमान् मे प्रियो नरः
इमान् मे प्रियो नरः
तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेतस्थिरमतिः भक्तिमान् मे प्रियो नरः
तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेतः स्थिरमतिः भक्तिमान् मे प्रियो नरः
ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदम्
ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदम्
यथोक्तं पर्युपासते
यथोक्तं पर्युपासते
श्रद्धाना मत्परमाः
श्रद्धधाना मत्परमाः
भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियाः
आस्तेतीव मे प्रियाः
ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदं यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धाना मत्परमाः भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियाः
ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदम् यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धधाना मत्परमाः भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियाः
ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे भक्तियोगो नाम द्वादशोऽध्यायः वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्.
Hari Om. So this completes our session, our chanting of the Bhagavad Gita for today. And after this, now we will have the Mahatmyam followed by the lecture for summary talk for today, and also the quiz and other things. And regarding the verses which are given in the earlier slides, the great Gita commentators which are indicated by the abbreviations is like below. It's like Swami Chinmayananda Ji, Swami Dayananda Ji, Swami Gambhirananda Ji, George Feuerstein, Swami Vireshwarananda, Eknath Ishwaran, Dr. Radhakrishnan, Swami Rama, Yuan Maskarao, Dr. A.G. Krishnavarya, Swami Mukundananda. So all these are great masters in various disciplines and spanning diverse cultures, even from the Western to the Eastern tradition, as well as traditional as well as modern commentators. All kinds of interpretations are being looked at in these slides. So now, please, we will move over to the Gita Mahatmya. So this will be done by Lataji. Over to Lataji, please.
अथ गीता माहात्म्यम् गीता शास्त्रमिदं पुण्यं यः पठेत् प्रयतः पुमान् विष्णोः पदमवाप्नोति भयशोकादिवर्जितः गीताध्ययनशीलस्य प्राणायामपरस्य च नैव सन्ति हि पापानि पूर्वजन्मकृतानि च मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने Sukrit Geetambhasi Snanam Samsaramalanashanam Gita Sugita Kartavya Kimanyai Shastra Vistaraihi Ya Swayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmat Vinisrita Bharatamrita Sarvaswam Vishnor Vakrat Vinisritam Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punarjanmana Vidyate Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bhokta Dugdham Geetamritam Mahat Ekam Shastran Devaki Putra Geetam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantrastasya Namani Yani Karmapyekantasya Devasya Seva Om Tat Sat Om Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you so much to Lataji for the beautiful chanting of the Mahatmya, and also to all our wonderful chanters who did this, this very, very difficult chapter of chapter 11, as well as the beautiful chapter of chapter 12, so wonderfully today, and much gratefulness to all the wonderful chanters. So really fantastic listening experience of the Bhagavad Gita. And now, and the chanters for today were actually Sunilji, and then Padmini-ji, Sindhuji, then Vinodini-ji, Sri Hari-ji, Rajitaji, Sri Lakshmi-ji, and Lataji. So all of them are in the sequence in which they came today while for the chanting, and all of them are really amazing. Thank you so much again. And now we move over to the final, to the talk for the session 12, and this talk will be by Sri Anand Chandrasekharji, Dr. Anand Chandrasekharji to be precise, and he's actually very, very close team, our team member of the steering committee of Bhagavad Gita, Gita Jayanti Singapore itself, and a very close friend of ours, and a wonderful student of the Bhagavad Gita. So we are eagerly hoping to looking towards this talk by Anandji. So over to Anandji. So I think you have the stage for you. Let me just spotlight. Yeah, okay.
Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pragyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vyasam Vasishthanaptaram Shakteh Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatam Taponidhim Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hari Om to everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity to share thoughts, reflections on the Bhagavad Gita. More than sharing, thanks for creating the opportunity for me to go ahead and study the Gita once more. I think that is more important. Sharing comes later. So, the ability to do Shravana and Manana as a precursor to sharing is something which is very important. So thank you for this opportunity. I will keep it short so that we will have chance to have more interaction and probably some more discussion as we move forward. So we know that the Gita is Advaitamrita Varshini. It is it is a shower of Advaita, and traditionally we have looked at this as an explanation of the Mahavakya Tattvam Asi. So the first 6 Shatkams, 1 to 6, is what we talk about Jiva Vichara, Tvam, that aspect of the who are we, various views on who are we is what is discussed in the first Shatkam, the first 6 chapters. Then 7 to 12 talks about Ishwara Vichara or Tat. Who is that Ishwara? So we have done Jiva Vicharam, now we are doing Ishwara Vichara. So that is where we are at this point. We have just concluded the Ishwara Vichara and the explanation of the Tat part of the Mahabharata. Then moving forward, we will, the Gita talks about what is called Asi or Jiva Ishwara Aikya Vichara. What is the connection between Jiva and Ishwara and how they are one and the same. So that is what is discussed in chapters 13 through 18. What is very interesting about chapter 11 and chapter 12 is chapter 11 is one of the larger chapters. I think it is the second largest chapter, third largest chapter of the Gita. So we have chapter 18, 78 shlokas, we have chapter 2, 72 shlokas, and then we have chapter 11 as 55 shlokas. And it is also a chapter in which the meter changes dramatically. It is not the usual Anushtup Chandas. So it usually takes longer to chant chapter 11. And it is also nice because it gives such a beautiful description of the Lord. So it allows us time, the meter actually allows us time to pause, take in the beauty of the Lord, take in the beauty of Arjuna's reaction to seeing the Vishwarupa, to viewing the Vishwarupa. So what is also interesting is when we usually go to a temple or when we go to a holy person, when we go to a guru, we say, I've had darshan of the Lord. I've had darshan of the Guru. So darshan is a very beautiful word which is used in the Sanatana Dharma and in the Sanatana Dharma tradition, representing a view. It is not just going and seeing someone. There are different words in Sanskrit for going and seeing. So I don't say I have gone and seen the Lord. I say I have gone and had darshan of the Lord. And that word is also employed in this chapter. Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. So what is it about darshan? What is this about the view which is different from actually seeing? I think that is something which merits a little bit of our discussion on. So when we say I see something, we typically say I see with my eyes. It's a very physical input and physical reaction. I've seen something, when I close my eyes, I don't see it. But when we talk of having darshan, then it is more of an intellectual view of things. I can have the darshan of the Lord. We say you can have the darshan of the Lord in your heart, which means your eyes are not functioning. You're not physically seeing anything, but still you are having a view of things. So this is where from chapter 10 to chapter 11, there is a little bit of a shift. In chapter 10, we saw Vibhuti Yoga. So everywhere, what are all the forms in which the Lord pervades, we are able to see with our eyes. So he says, among the mountains, I'm this, among the rivers, I'm this. He gives a very beautiful description, leaving nothing unturned. And then he says, Yadyat vibhuti matsattvam shrimadurjita eva va tattadeva vagachatvam mama tejom asham tejom sambhav. He says, I've given you a list, but it is not exhaustive. Wherever you see glory, that is all my glory. And know also this, Arjuna, that this is a small fragment of my glory. So Vibhuti Yoga is all about seeing the outside world, whatever we see, whatever we take in, whatever we hear, all of that, whatever is comprehensible to the senses is described in the Vibhuti Yoga. What happens when we shift to Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga is it takes us to a slightly intellectual plane. So if we look at how our development is structured in Sanatana Dharma, it starts with the idea of saying we view Ishwara as Ekarupa Ishwara. We view Ishwara in one form or in separate forms. I see him as Krishna, I see him as Rama, I see the Lord as the Brahman as Durga, Saraswati, whichever form you take, Rama, Krishna, Brahma, whichever form you take, we see it. Then we move on to the next stage, which is Aneka Rupa Ishvara. So Lord is there in all the beings. All the beings are there in the Lord. That is the next view we take. In both of these, we are still at the stage of Saguna Upasana or form-based worship. Then these both are stepping stones to take us to what is called Nirguna Upasana or Arupa Ishvara, where the Lord is beyond all of these forms and we enjoy Lord in all of those forms. So that is the process of development, spiritual development, which is prescribed by the Sanatana Dharma. What is interesting is none of these stages can be escaped or given up. You cannot go directly to the Arupa Ishvara form, Arupa Ishvara Upasana. You will have to go from Ekarupa Ishvara to Anekarupa Ishvara and then to Arupa Ishvara. So that is the stage by which we have to go one step after another in order to enjoy the vibhutis of the Lord. So what happens in the 11th chapter is very interesting. The Lord shows what is called a Vishwarupa. In the 10th chapter, he has provided Arjuna with a lot of data points. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, you can see me here, you can see me in this form, and so on. He has provided a lot of data points. Now, when chapter 11 begins, Arjuna says, "Oh Lord, I have been attentive. I have heard everything that you have told me. So I'm a good student. But I've learned all of these things as data points. Now, the data point alone is not enough for me. I want to experience it. Can you provide me with that experience? Can you bless me with that experience of whatever you have described right now? I have known that as separate things. How do I have the experience of all of this together?" And in contemporary times, if we think about it, this is very similar to what Swami Vivekananda did. He understood the whole concept of God is there everywhere and so on, but he wanted to experience it. So he goes from one guru to another saying, "Can you show me God?" Until he reaches Sri Ramakrishna, who then says, "Yes, I can show you God, just like I'm talking to you, I can talk to, you can also do that. I do it and you can also." So that is what we see here, that Arjuna starts by making a request saying, "I have understood the theory. Now can I please have the practical experience?" And today we know theoretical knowledge is not enough. We all stress that we should have practical experience. And that is what Arjuna also wants. Being a good student, he says, "Can I have?" So Lord Krishna, we know, is Dayalu. He is very kind-hearted. So he says, "Yes, Arjuna, I will give you that experience." So immediately he says, "Pashyame Partha Rupani," right? In the 5th shloka, he says, "Arjuna, yes, see my glories. See how all of this comes together." And he goes on to describe, how it is and so on. But suddenly Krishna realizes Arjuna is not able to see it. Why? And so he says, "Divyam dadamite chakshuhu pashyame yogam ishwaram." I give you divya chakshu, or divine insight, by which you can see it. Now, what is important to realize is we use the word and we say Krishna showed the universal form, but actually there is nothing unique. There is nothing new that Krishna is actually showing. The Vishwa is already there. It is already pervaded by him. So it is not that something which was not there is being shown by Krishna. It is already there. But then why are we not able to see it? Why is Arjuna not able to see it? This is where the whole idea of darshan comes into place. That you need to have a particular view to look at things. And it is that view, that perspective, that actually Krishna blesses Arjuna with. Says, now I'm going to give you a new perspective on whatever you have already been seeing. The same mountains are there, the same Yudhishthira is there, the same Krishna is also there, the same Bhima is there, the same Duryodhan is there, the same Bhishma is there, the same Karna is there, the same Gandiva is there, the same Kurukshetra is there. But I now bless you to look at it from a different view. The view of Aneka Rupa Ishwara. So he blesses him with that. And then Arjuna begins to see it. So what changes here is the viewpoint or the bhavana, the attitude with which Arjuna sees what is already there. And Krishna, we are all Arjuna. So Krishna is inviting us through Arjuna to change our bhavana, to change our darshan, to change our view in terms of how we look at this entire creation around us. So as Arjuna sees it, he describes, he describes the beauty of that. So the first emotion that strikes Arjuna is one of wonderment, ascharyavat. So, he says, this is so wonderful. I have never seen this before. Aneka vakranayanam, aneka adbhuta darshanam. He says, this is adbhutam. This is so wonderful. I'm having this view which no one has seen before. So he describes how the Lord looks physically and so on and so forth. Aneka vakranayanam, aneka adbhuta darshanam, aneka divyabharanam, wearing various divine ornaments, divine clothes, divya malyam varadharam, wearing divine malas and so on. He sees the sun, he sees the moon, he sees all the devas, all the rishis, everyone offering their obeisances to him. So he sees all of this. So that is what happens when he sees the Divya Chakshu. When he gets the Divya Chakshu, he experiences all of this. And then slowly what happens is Arjuna's wonderment, Arjuna's view as, oh, this is wonderful, changes a little bit. His feelings change a little bit because in the Lord's creation, everything is there. Not only what we call as the pleasant side, but also what is called as the unpleasant side is also there. So he sees not only creation, when he sees creation and things being sustained, it is all very beautiful. But then slowly, Krishna shows, Arjuna sees the other view also of the world, of the Lord, of being the destructor of all beings. So he sees the same Yudhishthira, the same Karna, the same Bhishma, the same Drona also being destroyed, those forms being destroyed. And so from 23 to 30 shlokas of the 11th chapter, Arjuna sees the destructive power of the Lord. Not just the creation and the sustenance, but also the destructive power of the Lord. And so that creates a kind of fear in him. I thought my Lord was this very nice flute playing Krishna, the one who used to eat nice balls of butter, who used to have all of these chubby cheeks which gopis used to come and pinch. This is what I was thinking about him. But suddenly he says, Kalosmi lokakshaya krit pravriddha. I am Kala. I am time who eats up all of the worlds. So he says, Krishna, this is really fearful. I am really frightened by this. This is where the Vishwarupa Darshana or the view comes into the picture. What Krishna is trying to convey through this is when we look at the world, we know the world is filled with dvandvas or the pairs of opposites. There is Sukham, there is Dukkham. There is Tuti, there is Ninda. There is Mana, there is Apamana. So all of this is there in the world. It is a pair of opposites. For some time there will be happiness, then for some time there will be unhappiness, sorrow. Then that will also change. How do we accept both? The acceptance of both is the darshana or the view that the Lord is trying to give us through this idea of Vishwarupa. The world is encompassed of both. How do we do this? And just to draw a parallel, what is interesting is the idea of Vishwarupa is not limited to the Bhagavad Gita. If you go to the Devi Bhagavatam, you will see that Ambal, Parashakti, shows her Vishwarupa. And the description is very similar. You see all of the pleasant side, all of the creation and the sustenance side, but you also see how the destructive power of Ambal is also there. And we see that also in Devi Mahatmyam also, Devi Mahatmyam also, we see her, we worship her when we do the Kavacham and other things. We see how she is the very nice side, Uma, Gauri, Kamakshi, we worship all of that also. But at the same time, we have the other forms also of the more Bagalamukhi and other forms, Chinnamasta and other forms, where which is slightly Bhayankara to look at also. So in each of the scriptures, the acceptance of both the creativity, the creation powers and the destructive powers is what is called. So Arjuna sees all of this and then he says, Krishna, what do I need to do? You are all of this and it is a little bit fearful for me. So can you please do me a favor? Can you show me your Divya Mangala Vigraha Swarupa? Can you show me this that form of you as forearmed, as this nice Krishna who used to be my charioteer, my friend? Can you please change your form to that? And Krishna, again, being Paramadayalu, he says, yes, he changes his form to that, having shown him that Vishwarupa. So a couple of takeaways from this is, in order to be able to obtain the Vishwarupa and sustain that view of the Lord, that we see the Lord everywhere in all the things, requires a lot of sadhana. Otherwise, what happens is, like Arjuna, we will see the Vishwarupa, but to be able to sustain that Vishwarupa is something which is very difficult. So how do we sustain that Vishwarupa is what the Lord is going to tell us in chapter 12. But before we go there, there are a couple of very beautiful things which we can enjoy in 11th chapter. And Krishna makes a very beautiful point to Arjuna. He says, hey Arjuna, you have seen all of these things. You have seen me as the creator, sustainer, and the destroyer of the three worlds. Therefore, asmat tvam tishta yashola bhasva jitva shatrun bhunshwarajyam samriddham mayaivaite nihatah purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. I am taking care of all of these things. So please drop your ahankar and mamaka. The idea that I am doing it and this is mine. This is what is putting the blinkers on you. This is what is stopping you from having the Vishwarupa Darshan, from having the view of the Lord in everything and everything being the Lord. This is what is preventing you. Therefore, Uttishta, get up, wake up. Yashola Basva, in this world, get all the good things in this world. By fighting, by doing whatever you need to do. For us, whatever needs to be done, whatever activity needs to be done in the world, please do it. But how do you do it? Nimitta matram bhava, by being an instrument. So I think Swami Chinmayananda in the Chinmaya mission, they have a beautiful pledge and they put it very beautifully. May thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. That is the prayer we all need to have. So I am nothing but a pipeline or a conduit for your grace to flow through me. There is no ahankara or mamakara saying that I have done this or this is mine. May I be an instrument in your hand. That is one beautiful thing to enjoy. The second beautiful thing to enjoy, and I've heard this from the lectures of Swami Tejomayananda, is there is a place where Krishna says, Arjuna says, Sthane Hrishikesha tava prakirtya. The word sthane is very beautiful. He says, oh Lord, the world as you have created it, as you are keeping it right now, is perfect. Nothing needs to change in this. It is only my vision which needs to change. The Lord, as you have created it, as you are sustaining it, as you are going to, whatever you are going to do with this world is very beautiful. I just do namaskara and allow myself to be an instrument of grace. So that is what we see in the Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. So we talked about how do we obtain and sustain this Vishwarupa Darshana. And to do that, Arjuna then says in chapter 12, hey Bhagavan, how can this be possible? So that is his question. So how do I go about having this? Is it by doing the upasana of you as the Nirguna upasana, as the formless, or do I worship you in form? Which one is better? And here what commentators tell us is the question itself is a meaningless question, because you can only compare two things which are similar to each other. Saguna is the means, Nirguna is the goal. We do not compare means with the goals. So what Krishna says is, hey Arjuna, Saguna Upasana is superior. Worshipping the form of the Lord, doing all the activities is superior. But if you want to gain moksha, Nirguna Upasana is what will help you gain moksha. One is not exclusive of the other. Both are necessary. So what we find in chapter 12 is Bhakti Yoga, chapter 12, one of the shortest chapters, the other being chapter 15, only 20 shlokas, but it gives the entire tattva of the Bhagavad Gita and of the Vedas also, in terms of how do we approach, what is the approach that one needs to take in order to attain mukti. This is beautifully laid out in a very few verses in chapter 12. So basically what happens is chapter 12, verses 3 to 12 talk about Bhakti Yoga Sadhana. So it talks about what are the steps needed, how do you go about doing it. And then 13 to 20 talks about the Bhakti Yoga Phala. Having followed these steps, what do you obtain out of it? What is the benefit out of it? That is what is explained. So what Krishna does in chapter 12 is to give us a 5-step process of how do we go about attaining moksha. How do we go about our own spiritual development? He gives a very, very clear 5-step process. The first 2 steps are Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga 1 and Karma Yoga 2, you can call it. Karma Yoga 101, Karma Yoga 201, you can call it. The next 2 steps, 3 and 4, are Upasana Yoga. Again, Upasana Yoga 101, Upasana Yoga 201. And the last step is Jnana Yoga. So that is what is described. So Krishna starts by saying, he actually gives it in reverse order. He starts with the Jnana Yoga. He says, this is what you have to aspire to. If you cannot immediately aspire to that, you do Upasana Yoga 201. You cannot do 201, come to 101 Upasana Yoga. You cannot do that, Karma Yoga 201. And if you cannot do any of those things, start with Karma Yoga 101. So let us start with Karma Yoga 101. I think that's an appropriate place for us to start. So what Krishna basically says is, whatever you do it in a prayerful manner. Whatever you and we have heard this before also. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhoshi dadasyat yat tapasya shikonteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do it as an offering unto me, do it in a prayerful manner. Meaning, do all of the activity, and at the end of that, we typically say, right? Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmana va prakrite subhavat karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayami. Let us have that bhavana in whatever we do. Ishwara arpanam. All of this is offered back to you. When you offer that, what you also do is whatever comes back, you accept it as Ishwara prasada. So first, you do the activity with Ishwara arpana bhavana. You offer it. And whatever comes back, you accept it as Ishwara Prasada. When we get a prasada, we don't say, I have got more, I have got less. We might have offered a lot to the Lord, but the prasadam comes as only very little. In fact, typically prasadams are only small quantity. We take it in our hands and we say, this is Bhagavad Prasada. It may not be the huge Annadanam that we sponsored. The prasadam that we get is a smaller amount. Right? How do we accept it? So take the same mentality and apply it to all of the activities. Do all of the activities, whatever comes back, accept it, whether it is positive, whether what you consider as positive or you consider as negative, doesn't matter, it is accepted. And in this level, the whole idea of Sakama Bhakti is permitted. So now I pray to the Lord in order to get this, in order to get that, in order to get a promotion, in order to get more money, in order to get peace of mind, whatever it is. So with the particular view, you're doing worship, that is allowed. This is, after all, 101. Karma Yoga 101. Then when we move on to the next stage, 201, the same activities will continue. There is no change in the activities. Okay. But there is a slight change in how the prayers go about. You're not now asking for yourself. You're not asking, I want money, I want fame. It is not Artharthi Bhakti, it is not Artha Bhakti. You're not asking for relief from something, you're not asking for comforts. What you are doing is, oh Lord, give me the clarity so that I can accept my karma phala. Whatever comes my way, let it come. Give me the strength to accept it. What we ask for is that strength, is for resilience. Whether I get it or whether I don't get it, doesn't matter. I have done my work. Whatever comes, give me the strength to accept it. So this slowly moves us towards Nishkama karma, or what is called Jignasu Bhakti. Let me have the understanding. Let me have the acceptance of whatever my karma phala gives me. Give me the strength to accept it. This is Karma Yoga 201. Then Krishna says, okay, you have been able to do this also. Move a little bit more to Upasana Yoga, where it is not about the world of activities anymore, but how do you reduce your activities a little bit from the material plane, and how do you move it towards a divine plane? So, Ishtadeva Upasana is where it comes in, single-minded, permitting yourself to sit down in a particular place, concentrate, doing more of meditation. So, you're moving less, you're moving more from Rajas, which is there in Karma Yoga 101 and 201, to a little bit more of Sattva, where you are sitting down quietly, you're contemplating things, you're contemplating about the nature of the world, you're contemplating about yourself, your relation to the world. All of this happens. Of course, some of the activities will continue. There is no question of activities not continuing. Regular activities will continue, but the viewpoint is now different. Then comes the fourth view. This is Upasana Yoga 201, where it is not about looking at the Lord in only one form, but looking at the Lord in everything. This is where the Vishwarupa Upasana comes in. This connects us back to Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. So in order to come to level 4, remember, you will have to clear 3 levels. So you can obtain level 4, but if you have to sustain it, 1, 2, and 3 needs to be done. So that is where it is a very gradual process of coming, and you cannot skip any of those stages. Krishna is very clear. These stages have to be crossed. The good news is that, just like data rolls over or minutes roll over, all of the efforts which are done roll over from one birth to another birth. So whether it is in this birth or the next birth, this is a process of continued education over many births, not only this birth. So that is what happens. So in the 4th stage, Vishwarupa Upasana comes in. So Aneka Rupa Upasana, what happens is Raga and Dvesha go out. You don't see distinctions between one and another. It's not that you like one person, it's not like you hate another person. Those distinctions basically go away because you see the world as being the Lord himself. And the last and final stage is what is called Arupa Ishwara Upasana. So this is where Vedanta comes in, Shavana, Manana, Nididhyasana, all of that comes in, where it goes into a very highly reflective, contemplative stage. Again, to get there, remember, all of this needs to be done. So that is what is described in verses 3 to 12. And then from 13 to 19, Krishna then describes the phala, or the output of the Bhakti Yoga, what happens as a result of that. Beautiful descriptions are given in terms of how the person does not hate anyone, how the person is very kind to all the living beings, how the person is always satisfied. Santushtaha satatam yogi yatatma dridhanishchayaha mai arpita manobuddhihi yo madbhaktaha same priyaha. So Krishna ends each of those verses saying same priyaha, same priyaha. That person is very dear to me. That person is very dear to me. So it's almost like a recurring theme for about 6 or 7 slokas. He says same priyaha, yo madbhaktaha same priyaha, and some variation of that he gives. And beautifully he ends by saying yetu dharmyamritamidam yathoktam paryupasate shraddhadhana matparamaha bhaktati achiva me priyaha. That person who follows this with a lot of shraddha is extremely dear to me. So that is how he concludes chapter 12. So basically what happens is, as we follow all of these things, kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, matsarya, all of these durgunas take leave of us. And what comes to us is a lot of positive gunas. Maitraha, friendliness. So the whole world is seen as one family. That is what is commonly expressed. We say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it's all seen as form of Ishwara. So that is the view that he gives us. Now, one thing to bear in mind as we talk of all of these things, and I will conclude in a couple of minutes, is just because one is at level 5, Arupa Ishwara does not preclude one from doing level 1. It does not mean one has to give up on level 1. And Krishna makes this extremely clear in the 3rd chapter. He says, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krite. Even for 1 minute, when you are in this body, you cannot be without doing karma. So, niyatam kuru karma. Do your duty. Do whatever responsibility has been assigned to you in that station in life, in that stage of life. Do it. If you're a teacher, teach. If you are, in our Puranas, we have the story of Dharma Vyada. Vyada is a person who hunts, and you prefix dharma to that. How does that happen? The hunter who is the follower of dharma, because that is what life has given him. That is the particular birth the Lord has given him. So even in that, we say do. But the view will change. Instead of doing for oneself, what that person does is how the jnani works is loka sangrahame vapi. The jnani will still continue doing puja. The jnani still continues getting up early, still doing the puja. The only difference is it is not done for the sake of that person alone, not that jiva alone, but keeping in mind the welfare of the world. And that is how we see all our gurus, all the great rishis, all the great munis, all the noble people whom we see today. That is how they have been doing. All of those, they have no need to do all of these work. They might have crossed all of this, but they still continue to do it because, again, Krishna reminds us, whatever a great person does, we will all follow. So we read about Krishna going and doing Amavasya Tarpana, because he says, if I don't do it, everyone will say, no need to do it. I will also give it up. Krishna goes and serves his parents. Krishna goes and washes the feet of Sudama. He teaches us how one should behave in this world also. So there are 2 things. Even as we work in this world, we have to have the darshana, or the vision of how do we approach it, the attitude with which we approach it. And that makes all of the difference. So thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit of thoughts on chapter 11 and chapter 12. I pray to the Lord that he bless all of us with this Vishwarupa Darshana. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Anandji, for those beautiful words. It was really very nice, especially the Anandji was trying to talk about the 55 verses in chapter 11 and 20 verses from chapter 12. So basically 75 verses in like 30 minutes of Bhagavad Gita is almost like more than 10% of the Bhagavad Gita. So it's an amazing feat what can be done. I don't think it's possible to do better than what you have done in such a short time. Probably you can take each word, and talk about it for hours together. So that is also. So anyway, you've done a great job. And especially, I really like those things on the 5-step process. The Upasana, Karma Yoga 101, 102, then Upasana Yoga 101, 102. Beautiful, very interesting idea. So very nice. So let people can we'll open up for the discussions at the end of the after this. So please stay on so that we can get answers from you for questions from the people, from the audience. Okay. So now let's get back into our balance of the few things left. So thank you so much once again, Anandji. So we will continue with the rest of the stuff. And for the quiz just now, I was informed, actually Ananya was supposed to host the session. Since she is not here, I will take over her role for now. So basically, let me put it into reading mode. Yeah. Two types of questions, and one is in a very short, a few number of words, and second one in about a paragraph of about 20 words or 25 words. And these questions in these quizzes are basically based on the verses chanted in that particular session or the main chapter in that session. So since this today's we covered chapter 11 and 12, the portions in the quiz will also cover chapter 11 and 12, same as what Anandji also talked about just now. And these questions will be explained in sometime in future. We will not really, I really don't know when we will do it. We'll do it at sometime in the future. And anyway, these questions will be available on the YouTube channel of Gita Jayanti, as well as Facebook channel of Facebook page of the Gita Jayanti. So anybody can always go back and listen to these questions again. And anyway, I will be giving the link for the quiz. And there will be no answers to these questions now, only questions. And you have to answer them on the online quiz only. So no answers today. So only questions. So basically, this is an opportunity for people to really look at the Bhagavad Gita. And I will assure you that without going through the actual text and actually studying it, you will not be able to answer probably even one question of this. So that is the caveat. So the link for today's this quiz is basically tinyurl.com Gita mini quiz should be S12, it's not S112, S12, or like all earlier ones, S1, S2, S3, like that. This goes up to S12, so session 12. So everybody is welcome to answer these questions, to test to study the Gita in deeper and test yourself. Okay, now let's get into the questions. And so for this type 1 is basically to be answered in a few words. So first one is in 1133. This is going to cover 11 in chapter 11 and chapter 12. And in 1133, Tasmatvam Uttishta Yasho Labhaswa. Arjuna is addressed as a Savyasachan. So another question is, what does this word Savyasachan mean literally? So it means Arjuna, various words are used to address Arjuna. So this is also one of the words. And now the question is, what does this word mean literally? So what does it mean? So they're supposed to indicate one of the characteristics or one of the abilities of Arjuna. Okay. So now next question is 1153 and 54. Naham Vede Natapasa. So Krishna says his cosmic form cannot be seen either by the Vedas or by the austerities or by gifts or by sacrifices. Then what is required for knowing, seeing, and attaining union with him? So this is what Krishna says here. So basically, it is almost towards the end of this chapter of chapter 11. He says that it is not just the conventional procedures of chanting and all that. Instead of that, and gifts and sacrifices and all that. So something he's recommending for knowing him, to seeing him, and attaining union with him. So what is this? So basically, please refer to 53 and 54 only, because this same topic may be covered in different ways in other verses. And next question, moving over to the next question, in 12.1, the first verse of Bhakti Yoga, the chapter 12, Evam Satada Yukta, Arjuna is asking the Lord, who is the better type of yogi among two types? So what are these two types of yogis that he's asking about? Anandi talked about it quite a bit. And in next question is 12.6.7, Etu Sarvani Karmani. Krishna says that he will liberate from the cycle of world of samsara what kinds of devotees? So this is the he will liberate a few types of devotees, bhaktas. He will samudharta. That's what he says. He will actually uplift them from this world of samsara. So what is the kind of devotee that he's talking about in these particular verses? Because he talks about devotees in several ways throughout this chapter. So in 6 and 7, what is he talking about? In 12.8, atha chittam samadhatum. So he says Krishna is actually talking about one of the types of sadhana. And I think Anand also briefly talked about it. So this he's talking about a particular type of sadhana that is prescribed by Krishna. Of course, he also talks about a number of other ways. But in 12.8, what is the type? Because I'm asking this question mainly because it's very, very important for us, for all devotees. Okay, now we move over to the next type of questions, basically the longer ones to be answered in longer sentences. So the first question is the verse 11.1. Madanugrahaya paramam has something strange about it from a metrical or grammatical perspective. What is it? This is actually a technical question. Anand also briefly talked about the meter change which is happening in the chapter 11 and chapter 12 and all that. It's not much of this chapter 11 is not Anushtup, but this particular verse is not about that. It's actually in Anushtup. But there's something strange about it. So what is it? So there's technical questions. Anybody interested in meters and Anushtup Vrtam and this particular verse will be interested. 11.22 Rudraditya Vasavo Echa Sadhyaha. So this actually is a very, very picturesque, as Anand said, this is a very picturesque chapter with a huge imagery of wide variety of things. And he also talks about Vasus, Sadhyas, and Vishwadevas amongst other beings. And who are these beings? Specifically Vasus, Sadhyas, and Vishwadevas. Basically, we should understand the Bhagavad Gita, what it's talking about, not only about the philosophical aspects, but also it's the literal text, what it is talking about. You understand the mythology, they understand the background, understand the whole of this the environment on which Bhagavad Gita is built. So unless we understand the whole thing, it's impossible for us to understand what it's really talking about. Some people say that this is the central essential message of Gita. I only focus on that. I think that's very superficial and will not teach you anywhere. Now 11.55, it describes the qualities that are required for not just seeing him, but verily reach and attain him. What are these qualities? So this is just, we talked about 11.53-54 earlier. So 11.55 is the final verse, the ultimate verse of chapter 11. So he's talking about how to reach him and how to attain him. So what are these qualities? And again, in the questions 4 and 5, question 4, because we need to understand. Krishna says that some kinds of devotees, some kinds of qualities of devotees are extremely dear to him. So what are these qualities? So it is essential for us to study each of these qualities in depth. So that's the reason why it's asked here to repeat again. What are the qualities which are asked by Lord in verse 13 to 16 and in the next question 17 to 19, so that you really go into these verses and take each of these quality and study them. So that is the idea. So these are the 2 types of questions, and 10 questions are there. All are welcome to answer them and submit them on this URL, tinyurl.com, Gita Mini Quiz S12. S12, it's not 1112. There's a typo here. It should be S12, session 12. Okay, now we come to the ending part of the session, and this will be the final mantras, and this will be done by Sunilji. Over to Sunilji, please.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanantaramurtaye Amritakalashahastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trailokyanataya Mahavishnave Swaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bante Jagadgurum Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kayena Vacha Manasendriyarva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Swabhava Karomi Yadyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayaneti Samarpayami. Om Purnamada Purnamitam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om. Om.
Thank you so much, Sunilji, for those beautiful Shanti mantras as well as the concluding mantras. Now, a few announcements of upcoming events, like Srinivasanji mentioned in the beginning. Right today, just today evening at 7 p.m., we have this International Gita Forum online with Swami Sarvapriyanandaji. He's a highly well-known speaker on the Vedanta, and he's from the New York Center of Ramakrishna Mission, and he's going to talk on spiritualizing action based on chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita. So please do tune in. It's available on the Gita Jayanti's YouTube channel as well as the Facebook page of Gita Jayanti. So please do tune in 7 p.m. today. You can tune in a few minutes earlier so that you don't miss anything. And there'll be a short question answer session also after this. And the next event that's coming up is next week. That is on the 10th of September. We have the Krishna Manjari program, which featuring bhajan concert by Surya Gayatri, the young internet sensation with over 150 million people. So the tickets are really running very, very fast. So please do grab your tickets if you can. Final announcement for today is Likhet Gita Samarpan. It's a new initiative by the Bhagavad Gita Jayanti, the Gita Jayanti committee. And basically the idea is to submit, write the whole of the Bhagavad Gita in your own handwriting physically on a piece of paper, on a book and pages of on paper in your own preferred language. It could be in Devanagari or any other language, and after that it can be submitted at the Mokshada Ekadashi Parayan, which is going to happen on the 4th of December, and to get the vibrations from the environment of 400 people or 500 people chanting the Bhagavad Gita and in front of the Lord, the idol. So after that you can collect back, and so this is another initiative to immerse yourself into the Bhagavad Gita. So that is all the announcement from me. Srinivasan, you want to say anything?
Yeah. One more thing is there is in the planning stage, it will happen very shortly, will be the art competition for the children. Oh, yeah. I think it's likely to happen around 2 weeks' time from now. So please look for the announcement, official announcement, flyers, and spread the word among the children, because children from right up to the age of 5 to 16 can participate in 3 to 4 categories. And this time we are opening up Live. It will happen at PGP Hall. Because for the past 2 years, we could not hold it due to COVID. We had online competitions at all. So now it's back to normal. So it will be at PGP Hall on probably, I think it will be on 16th September, but we'll confirm it. Thank you.
Yeah. Hari Om. So that ends this session for today, and the next session. So see you all at the next session, at the session 13 on 17th of September, same time on the same platform. So now we will enable people to ask questions, and before that, request everybody to enable your videos so that we can take some pictures. Request everybody to enable your videos, please. I think there are still lots of people who are not enabling videos. Even our chanters are not. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I think so that ends the photography session. So now let me enable everybody to unmute. You will be able to unmute yourself now. Oh no, sorry. Unmute. Yeah, I think you can unmute yourself. Okay. So you can unmute yourself, and our speaker for today, Anandji, is available here. So you'll be available to answer any questions or give comments or feedback. Any questions? Anybody? Okay, otherwise I'll ask question. I think I should kickstart.
Yes.
Yeah. Anandji, in the chapter 12:16, Bhagavan says about various qualities like anapeksha, shudaksha, udasino, gatavyatha. But he says sarvarambha parityagi. Okay. So the sarvarambha parityagi is a little bit odd. So could you explain why this sarvarambha parityagi is a good characteristic? Why there should be no arambhas? So that is one of my questions. And second question is on the next 2-3 verses later, subsequently. Here. Tulyanindastu mauni santushto ena kenachita aniketa stiramadhi. So aniketa is being used here. This is, in fact, if you read the translations which are given, one by Eknath Ishwaran as well as by Yuan Maskarov, they interpret themselves in different ways. So aniketa means basically homelessness. So homelessness is being given as a characteristic of a Bhaktimanyo Priya Nara, Bhagavan's Priya Bhaktiman. So how could you explain on these two words? One is Sarvarambha Parityagi and second is Aniketa.
Okay, both of them are beautiful padas. So I'll give my view, and then I think we've got other elders in the meeting also who can share. Sarvarambha Parityagi, it is very easy to misinterpret that as don't start anything.
Yeah.
Okay. You give up all starting. If we take it that way, then the whole idea of Karma Yoga falls flat. Okay. Because Krishna is very clear. You have to do activity, some activity or another. If you don't do any activity, then you cannot be without doing activity. That's the nature of the human. Okay. So how we have to interpret this is Kamyartha. For the sake of attaining something, if I'm going to start doing, then that is driven by raga. And when raga comes, dvesha will also come in. I don't have something, therefore I want to attain it, therefore I start doing something. A jnani does not begin something for that sake, because he or she wants anything. Does it because it needs to be done. I eat because I need to sustain this body. For example, I mean, taking a very simple example is, I eat because I need to sustain this body. Therefore, whatever comes, I accept. Whereas, if I eat because I want to experience the taste of something, then today I've had chapati in the morning. When I'm served chapati again in the afternoon, I will say, is it chapati again? Is it the same sabji again? Can I have something different? Can I have puri? Whereas the jnani who is there accept whatever comes his or her way. And that becomes, so don't do anything for the sake of attaining a particular goal. That is okay. Again, we saw in Karma Yoga 101. In Karma Yoga 101, that Sakama Bhakti, you are going and praying in order to attain something is acceptable. But when you have reached the level of Jnana Yoga, level 5, your activities are not because you want something, because you want something specific. So that is the interpretation of Sarva Arambha Parityagi. And please, others can also add in. Sunilji, Rajeshji, you're all there. Please do add in other interpretations. Let us come to Aniketa. Very, very interesting. Homelessness. Traditionally, if you look at our Sanatana Dharma, sannyasis are homeless. They are enjoined to not stay in a place for more than 3 days, except for the Chaturmasya, which is happening now. Except for the Chaturmasya Kala, the rainy season, they do not stay in a place for more than 3 days. And this reminds me of a beautiful anecdote I heard about Sadhu Vaswaniji. So, this is what I heard, that Sadhu Vaswaniji was sitting in a particular room, and one of the devotees came in. The devotee has come from abroad, so the devotee came in to offer his pranams to Maharaj. So he comes, he says, he looks around and he says there is no furniture in the room. He asks Sadhu Vaswaniji, Swami, how is that you don't have any furniture in the room? You're in this place, don't you have any furniture? So he looks back at the devotee and says, where is your furniture? And he says, no, I've just traveled from abroad. I've just come here. How can I carry my furniture with me? Then he says, what makes you think I'm not a traveler? I'm also traveling. Today I'm in this world. Today I'm here. Tomorrow I don't know where I will be. Why should I carry my furniture along? You have not brought your furniture when you came from abroad. So why do you expect me to hold on to my furniture here? So this is what happens, Aniketaha, the minute you put your place down in one, house, so to speak, think of all the things which come with it. And especially in Singapore, we know once to get a house is difficult, and to keep that is very difficult. If you want to sell it, it is even more difficult. You have to fulfill all the quotas before you can even sell that place. Even if you want to get rid of that attachment, it is very difficult. So, it is figuratively the way of saying is, do not develop any attachment. Do not develop any mamakara, that this is mine. This belongs to me. I am bound by this place. Do not develop any mamakara. And one of the biggest things of mamakara is, I have this house. This space belongs to me. And Vishwarupa, he makes it very clear. Lord pervades everything, including the space in between things, not just the distinct things, but even the space between the things is pervaded by him. Therefore, give up that attachment also. Give up that mamakara also. Then you become Aniketa. Wherever you go, it is your place only. What is this is my place, that is my place. For a devotee who sees the Lord in everything, every place is his place. So that is my understanding of Aniketa.
It's not, especially Savarambha Parityagi, it's not about, preventing entrepreneurship, is it? So entrepreneurship is creating new enterprises, right? So looking at it from management perspective, how would you interpret?
So which one? You're talking of Sarvarambha Parityagi?
Sarvarambha Parityagi, yeah. Arambha is basically entrepreneur, creating new stuff. That is what is highly praised in our modern parlance. People want to create new companies, new stuff, create new things. So all these Arambhas, they're all basically Arambhas. So,
and just to be clear, the whole idea of innovation, entrepreneurship is not a modern concept. It has been there in Sanatana Dharma for a very, 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 very long time. Okay, if you look at Mahabharata, the creation of the palace in Indraprastha was an act of innovation. The creation of every divine weapon is an act of innovation. How was the Vajra created from the bones of the Dichi? How did they get it? That is an act of innovation. We see innovation in every stage. And if you look at the way we have spread our scriptures, there is so much of innovation. The Vedas are not only taught in the regular manner. We have Pada, Krama, Jata, Ghana. So the way teaching is done is also done in an innovative manner. So none of this is against entrepreneurship. This is where we need to separate two things. We need to separate the 10th chapter from the 11th chapter. In 10th chapter, all of the innovation is permitted. What we say is, Yadyat Vibhuti Matsatvam Srimadurjita Eva. All of this innovation is nothing but a Vibhuti of the Lord. That is the attitude that we take in the 11th chapter. So, do all the innovation. Krishna says, Anityam Asukham Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajasvama. Yes, this is Anityam, this is Asukham. Yes. That is how the Loka is. Do all the innovations you need and do it well. Okay, I will give away the answer to one of your quiz questions also in this, if someone sees it here. Savyasachi.
Yeah.
What is the extent of Arjuna's skill? Entrepreneurship, both in the left and the right hand, he can function simultaneously. So none of innovation, none of entrepreneurship, nothing is frowned upon. You have to do it, but you have to separate what happens in this world from what happens from the attitude you take to what happens towards all of that. So I think we need to clearly separate those two things. What is Adhyatmika and what is Vyavaharika? In Vyavaharika, there will be distinctions because that is the nature of the world. The nature of the world is Dvandvaihi. There will always be two things in this world. But we'll have to take the perspective, the darshana, the Adhyatmika darshana or the Vishwarupa darshana when we work in this world so that we stay above this world, above the ups and downs of this world.
Thank you. Good. Any comments by others, Sunilji and Rajeshji and all?
Sarvarambha Parityagi. Again, I have read ethics that you can do things, you start, but never kamya karma. Don't do it for that sake. You do it for the loka kshema and with that attitude. And of course, we always see that we have to have the prasad buddhi, whatever you do. So it doesn't say that you cannot do it. You have to do it, but you tyaga, you do the tyaga of the expectation of the karma pala. That's the one. Kamya karma, you don't do that. And second thing is, one more thing is, I think, what and Anandji was telling, that everything belongs to God and everything. I'm reminded of what Ramakrishna once said, that Ishwara laughs every time two brothers fight over a land. He says, who is fighting over whose land? That's what his attitude would say. So that's the one thing he would say that. So I was reminded of that also, because ultimately it is all him. What you are dividing the nations, the borders and everything becomes meaningless. Even the nations that have been there have disappeared. And nations have been being created today. So over the long history, this becomes meaningless act of fighting over something. So it is that we have that. If we have the attitude that everything belongs to him, then I think the petty quarrels will not happen.
If I can just add on one thing, when we are talking of Sarvarambha Parityagi, this is important because in the 18th chapter he makes it very clear there are things you should do. Krishna says, Yajna dana tapah karma nat tyajyam karyameva tate. Yajna udanam tapascheva pavanani mishna. Do not give up yajna, do not give up tapas, and do not give up dana. This has to be done because as long as you are in this world, this is what will give you the chitta shuddhi, will give you the clarity of mind. So You have to keep doing this, but do all of that. Yajna, dana, tapa. Again, he describes, how that comes under sattva, rajas, and tamas. So do it with an attitude of Ishwararpana.
That made me to add one more thing, is that regarding the innovation part of it, there was some discussion was going on just now.
Yes.
I was reminded of a story that I read long ago. A great orator, he goes and talks and gives a big lecture saying that how the modern world is there and how barbaric the people have been there, how science has innovated so many things and so many things are coming to today, especially in the 20th century and all. He says it's fantastic. It's bit, what do you say? He was feeling a bit ashamed to be come from that kind of age to this. So world has been progressed so very well in this century that he took his son for the first time to his lecture. So the son also came, young boy, and then when they returned, the father expected the son to applaud the father, but he never said anything. Then the father couldn't tolerate it anymore, couldn't take it anymore. On the dining table, he said that, look, why not say something about this? He says, Pa, you forgot one thing. Innovation and the skill set have always been there. Now you are eating a food on the table. Some people have died to ensure that this is not poisonous and this has been poisonous. So the rice, who invented? Paddy field, who invented? Who invented this is edible, this is not edible? So innovation has been going on all through the ages, but based on the needs of the society. For the primitive man, food was the primary thing. So for him, the innovation was more on food-oriented, agriculture-oriented. Now today, your stomach is satisfied, your packets are filled up. We are looking at how to make use of the gadgets and everything. So innovation has always been there. So never ever say that man is primitive, man has always been innovative. The father never said anything about that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's nice. Anybody else wants to add anything? Sunilji or Rajeshji?
Hariom.
Hariom.
It was a beautiful talk by Anantji. But here, to this thing for the question to add up, the first question is actually if bhakti, the pure bhakti, is the theme of everything. In Gita, we know Tatvamasi, 3-6 chapters. It has placed as the 12th. All the yogas being linked or threaded in bhakti. And bhakti is the goal also, ultimate bhakti. Is the goal of existence, to say, that pure love. Technically, why it has come as the 12th chapter, one thing. Another thing, that's the question to you, just as a discussion. And then another thing is Sarvarambha Parityagi, to my understanding. Actually, Vedas say so, akameta aham bahusyam bhavema. He has willed or wished to become many. It may be in the spiritual sense that seeing many is because of desire. So desirelessness is actually godliness or spiritual. We have two realms. One is, we name it as, one is absolute, and the Paramarthika and Vyavaharika. In the Vedic injunctions, that the wish of the Lord was the cause of manifestation. So if you want to transcend the limitations, you are supposed to go beyond objective desires. So there comes actually what we call as Sankalpa. So Sankalpa Prabhavan, Kamaha or Karma. To go beyond, we need to actually go beyond that throbbing of the mind, which is nothing but a desire. And the other thing is Aniketaha. Aniketaha, if we take in the Vedantic tradition, actually there is only one house, which is so Mahimni, Sthitaha. Everyone or that Tattva, Bodha, resides in the Mahima of one's own being. So that is the real house for actually all that what we see with our mind and sense organs. And Krishna, we have discussed this in the Vedantic tradition. many words can actually use to bring us to devotion. That is the stotras and stutis or shrutis to say. But that true devotion, which is Parama Prema Rupa, or how do we call Atmanusandhanam, reveling in that Mahima or Mahimni is the thing. So these are the 2 points which I would like to say. And also here in the second half of the chapter, I would like to actually say that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Yo Mahatma Sudurlabha. Repeatedly this thread is being said, that pure consciousness, that bliss, Ananta, Anandeva Khalu Bhudani Jayanti, Ananta Mimamsa. We are getting the words from Anandji also. So everyone who is being that, seeking it outside. So only to remove that curtain, which is actually our karma to say, which may be brought forward tendencies acquired from this birth, which can be interpreted in many ways. So here, I would like to, this question is there, the time is late also, 12th chapter in Sankhya, Egadasha and Dwadasha. Sankhya ways, when we come into the material aspect, why Vyasa or Krishna placed 12th chapter as Bhakti Yoga. That's question to Anand. Hari Om.
You get one more question.
I can't, I don't think I'm qualified enough to read into the mind of Vedavyasa as to why he placed it. So I will only share what I think, from my experience. So why has he placed it? I think, we should look at more other commentators to say why it is that. But my own understanding is, again, we spoke of Tattvamasi. When we are starting on the journey, in any learning, in any development, any learning, we first want to learn about things which are close to us, which we are familiar with. We want to learn, when we teach children, we start with simple relationships. This is your mother, this is your father. We start with simple relationships. This is you, this is your mother, this is your father, this is your grandfather, this is your grandmother. Before I go to cousin second removed or cousin fourth removed, or all of those things, before we do that. So similarly, I think my understanding is Krishna is starting off by talking about Tvam, about me, because Arjuna is experiencing himself. So that is where all of that comes in. The first few chapters, who are you, what is your nature, what do you have to do, what is your karma, all of that is kind of talked about in that. And then slowly he shifts to something else, a little bit more, 1 degree of separation, if you want to call it at that point at least, of saying there is someone called Ishwara. So, that Ishwara pervades this whole world. So he kind of starts talking about all of those things. Again, to me, like you said, Sunilji, Bhakti is the ultimate. He's talking of that ultimate bhava, ultimate knowledge and experience. It is not easily attained. It is not something which you can wake up today and say, I have attained it. It takes a lot of sadhana to be able to come. So my understanding is that in the earlier chapters, Krishna is slowly introducing the sadhanas. Do your karma, do your nitya karma, do it with this attitude, start doing meditation. And through that, you start seeing the Lord in all of the vibhutis which is happening in the world. So, you slowly go towards that, gain your theoretical knowledge before you convert that, before you use that to change your perspective. So in 11th and 12th. So my understanding is that it's a gradual introduction, gradual scaling up of sadhana, so that it doesn't hit you all at one time. You can go step by step.
Rajesh, do you want to say something?
Yeah, okay. I mean, already lots have been said. Yeah. First of all, I'm so happy to see our friend Anandji after a long time. And So this verse is such a favorite verse for everyone. Anapeksha suchir daksha udasino gatabhyata sarvaramba parityagi yomad bhakta same priyaha. How I learned about sarvaramba parityagi, it was a little baffling word for me also. That whatever undertakings we take, whatever projects we take, I mean, there is a start. If our attitude is, we are not undertaking the project for our own selfishness, for our own selfish goal, then the project becomes, absolutely auspicious and, imbued with the divine sentiments. That's how I interpret Sarvaram Parityagi. You are not having your own selfish attitude when you have undertaken your tasks. And the other one, Aniketa Sthirmatir Bhakti Manya Priye Naraha. I am reminded of a very beautiful couplet by our Guru Maharaj. He says, Jag mein raho jaise Govind Radhe, Dharmasala mein jaise raho ye bata de. So like you go and reside in a dharmashala, that's how you should consider this world. Dharmashala, when you stay for 2 days and the painting of your room is a little off or broken, you don't start sweating, you don't care. So this world is also temporary, asashwatam dukhalayam. So enjoy every moment. Of course, it is no longer ashashwatam dukhalayam if we have attached our mind to the Lord. But definitely this is a temporary world. So as Anandji says, like every place you go is a beautiful place, is a new place. So when people tell me, like Rajesh, you are in Malaysia, so how is Malaysia? I say beautiful. How is Singapore? Beautiful. How is India? Beautiful. Every place is beautiful. Thank you so much.
I think it's already 1:30. I think time is coming to a close. So hopefully we can end now, right? Unless there are any compelling questions by anybody else.
They can post it on and can be answered in the
next session.
Yeah.
Okay, then I think so we will come to the end of today's session, and we thank our guest of honor for today, our Ranveer ji, and thank you so much to Ranveer ji, and also to Anand ji, our speaker for today. Thank you, Anand ji, and also all the wonderful chanters who did a splendid job of chantings, and also to all the guests and all the audience who participated today. Thank you so much, and we offer all these efforts to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Thank you so much. Hari Om, and see you at the next session.
Hari Om.
See you this evening.